I would say he should be very worried, yeah. He should be. As you know, they're negotiating with us.
I know they are, but the protesters have said, you know, where are the Americans? You promised them we would have their back. Do we still have their back?
Well, we've had their back, and look, that country's a mess right now because of us. We went in, we wiped out their nuclear.
So that's the question. If we wipe them out,
we have peace in the Middle East. Yeah. If I didn't take out their nuclear, think of it. If we didn't take out that nuclear, we wouldn't have peace in the Middle East because the Arab countries could have never done that. They were very, very afraid of Iran. They're not afraid of Iran anymore.
For more, we're joined by Onur, our managing editor for MENA. Okay, so President Trump saying that the Ayatollah needs to be very worried. At the same time, the talks are actually going ahead this weekend, but not in Turkey, in Oman.
That's correct, and that change in the venue, as well as the format and the agenda of those talks, were made at the request of Iranian leadership. We have seen that the talks were almost on the verge of collapse yesterday, but the U.S. still has agreed to the change just requested by the Iranian leadership. So what is critical at this point is that these changes that were made at the request of Iranian leadership means that, yes, on the one hand, the risk of a military confrontation immediately is somewhat subdued. But on the other hand, all the changes make it all the more difficult for the two parties to come to a meaningful resolution on Friday's talks.
How likely is it that Iran meets the concessions that the U.S. is demanding of them?
Well, the problem is the U.S. officials, including U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, have made it clear that they want to talk about not just about the nuclear file, but also about Iran's missile stockpile and its support for various militant groups in the Middle East. And that's something that Iranian officials, including Arakchi, the foreign minister, has rejected outright. It just is very difficult to see how a grand bargain, a major resolution to all the issues that the U.S. wants to talk about will come out of the talks on Friday in Oman.
Yeah, and let me just ask you, when it comes to markets, we have seen, again, a lot of volatility in commodities markets. Oil is just following the pattern of whether the negotiations are on or off. But there seems to be an embedded geopolitical premium, again, about the uncertainty of what these talks could actually lead to.
Absolutely. The volatility that we've seen, especially yesterday, was a reflection of the diplomatic whiplash. Will the talks go through? Will they not go through? Yes, they are down quite a bit this morning, and that just shows, as you said, the relief from the fact that there doesn't seem to be a likelihood of an immediate war between now and Friday. But on the other hand, oil prices, the Brent prices, are still up about 12% when you compare them to where they were just at the beginning of the year, and just shows that investors are worried that come Friday, we may be back to where we were just a couple of days ago, and the U.S. may still be threatening to wage war on Iran, and not only that, but also follow through that threat.